All right, Nick, let's talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide 3-0 start to the season. Kalen DeBoer and co. looking really, really good. But, bye week this week, next week, looking forward, big time matchup against Georgia. I think this is going to be proving grounds for Alabama. But Kalen DeBoer, really interesting approach to how he talks about Georgia. He talks about the history between these two things. I think he's doing something really smart. I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, Kalen DeBoer, really interesting approach of how he talks about the upcoming game on the 28th against Georgia. Let's hop on into the article and we can talk more about it on the other side. This is from Sporting News. It says, on September 28th, arguably the biggest SEC matchup of the season will go down as Alabama Crimson Tide host the Georgia Bulldogs. Alabama's head coach Kalen DeBoer didn't downplay the matchup, but he did downplay the previous history between the two teams. Yeah, I think you naturally learn more and more as you're here longer, DeBoer prefaced by saying, now that it's the week of Georgia game or bye week leading up to it, you continue to understand everything that surrounds the game. But I think the main thing is, this is for us. Our first conference game, it's against an opponent that, number one, I guess maybe, number two, depending on where you look. So number one, number two team there, I kind of read that a little bit weird, but at a top rate team that brings it each and every week Saturday, is going to be extremely well coached. We know it's going to be a great test for us. So it's really about the game, and there isn't any past history with us competing against each other. Certainly understand everything Coach Smart's done for this program throughout the many years he put in helping us in our program grow. Interesting approach by Kalen DeBoer saying, listen, this is just a game against a really good team. There's no history. There's nothing that we need to predicate this on, which we all know there's a deep history between Alabama and Georgia. Coach DeBoer kind of downplaying that a little bit. I think it's smart. I'm curious what you think about this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Alabama fans, in the comment section below, what do you think about Alabama, Georgia? What do you think about this number one, maybe number two team in the country? Do you think that this is going to be a game Alabama crushes them? Do you think it's going to be really close? Let us know what your score decisions are in the comment section below. But Nick, what do you think about Coach DeBoer's decision here to kind of downplay the history of these two teams?
I literally cannot love his strategy anymore. This is the brilliant approach to take. It's the smart approach to take. It's the grown-up approach to take, right? Kalen DeBoer is new to Tuscaloosa. He's new to Alabama. Obviously, we all understand this. The rivalry between Saban and Kirby Smart, Alabama and Georgia, is obviously and has been one of the deep rivalries in college football over the past half decade or so. In fact, Georgia has only lost, I believe, 2 games for the past 3 seasons, both of them only to Alabama. Both of them, I believe, also only in the SEC championship game. So you're talking about as heated as a rivalry as you can possibly get in major college football. It's up there. I think, to me, at this point, it's bigger than Ohio State, Michigan, just because of the talent level on the field, the rivalry between the coaches, Saban, Smart. You got the master and student thing. But now Saban's gone, right? New dynamic, completely different vibe shift, 100%. You, as the leader, Kalen DeBoer, have to demonstrate that to your team. You have to let them know, listen, this is different. We're approaching this like we're playing the number 1 team in the country or number 2 team in the country, by whatever poll you want to go with, and say we're not going to treat this any differently than we would be if we were playing Miami or Ohio State or Michigan or USC or whoever, and they were the number 1 or number 2 team in the country. We're going to take that same approach. In fact, we're going to take the same approach we had when we were playing USF, the same approach we're having into Wisconsin. We're going to be about the system. We're going to be about the process. And that is really important for DeBoer. If he tries to mimic or replicate or get some of that Saban era magic on him, he will woefully and completely, totally, utterly fail. That will happen every time in football history, especially college football history. When a coach tries to revive some prior magic from a great regime before him, it always ends in total disaster. Kalen DeBoer taking the smart approach, saying, listen, I'm not part of this Georgia rivalry yet. This is new to us. I'm downplaying the last half decade or so. It's all about 2024, this matchup coming up in front of us right here. And it's all about us as an Alabama football team getting ready to play another really good football team. Great move by Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer here. It's a really tempting move to dive deep into the rivalry because it's such a good one, but he takes a long game approach here. I think it's a smart move. And actually, I think we'll see a lot of results when Alabama suits up against Georgia. I think this will actually give them an advantage. Georgia will still be emotional like it's a rivalry game. I think Alabama will be more even keeled, and I think that will give them a key advantage for most of the game.
And I think this is an interesting approach as well because Kalen DeBoer, like new guy on the block, sometimes it's like, common for someone to come in and try to empathize with the fan base, empathize with everybody else, be like, hey, I know I'm in the know. I know what happened between Georgia and Alabama. I know how important the game is. Look at me. I did all of this research, talk about certain games, talk about certain moments. But that's not what he's doing here. He's not taking the new guy approach, and he really hasn't all season long. He's been the veteran. I've been here, but in a way that he hasn't been here. So he does it very gracefully. He toes the line. I'm the new coach in town. I'm not taking credit for anything, but I'm not doing it the new coach way. I'm doing it from a veteran coaching perspective. I'm doing it from a coach who's been very successful. I'm doing it for a coach who made it to college football playoffs. So I think it's an interesting approach by DeBoer. Like you said, I think he's kind of taking the best of both worlds. I think he's got that veteran personality, veteran leadership, veteran control of the team, but at the same way, downplaying a lot of stuff, keeping his team even keel. I think it's going to be a really good approach for them going into this game.